Welcome to Nolan Knows. It's time for the lightning round. First on the list, Facebook launches an Ebola charity and a donation button. You know, the head of Facebook even donated some $25 million. That's what wealthy people do. We're the most philanthropic society in the world. It's great to be an American. Next on the list, a judge has ruled that Missouri can't keep St. Louis officials from marrying same-sex couples. There are a couple of problems here. The first problem is that the government is not supposed to define marriage. It's not in their work order. They don't write the lexicon. Second problem is that the government shouldn't reward or punish anybody for getting married. You do that, and nobody cares who you marry, ever. Next on the list, company claims that Alex from Target was just a marketing ploy. You may or may not have heard about this, but it was just setting the Twitter world on fire. The young kid that teenage girls were crazy about. Might have been a great advertising ploy, but now the cat's out of the bag and it's pretty much toast now. Harvard admits taking secret photos of students. It was some kind of an attendance study they were putting together, and they took photographs of the classrooms to see who was in school and who wasn't. Classroom isn't really a private place, it's a public place. Harvard, I think, gets off the hook on this. No harm done. McDonald's shows what's really inside a McRib. There are all kinds of gory stories about what kinds of food you're getting from fast food places. Generally scares people. It's like slime, pink slime and all that. Turns out McDonald's McRib is made out of pork. Next on the list, Berkeley, California has passed a soda tax. It's not a very expensive tax, but I don't like the idea of tyranny of the majority. I don't like the idea that a city would decide they're going to punish people for drinking something that they don't think they should drink. I guess that's why I'm a libertarian. I don't like the drug laws either. It's time for the story of the week, and the story of the week is the midterm elections. I'm sure nobody's surprised that's the story of the week, but I think there's an underlying story here that is misleading. See, people in the media and the Democrats are trying to tell America that the reason the Republicans won control of the Senate and enlarged their control of the House of Representatives is because they wanted the Democrats and the Republicans to work together. Well, that couldn't possibly be the reason the Republicans were so successful in this last election. Clearly, this was a repudiation of big government, socialism. It was a repudiation of a failed administration and their foreign policy as well as their domestic policy. You see, if the Republicans and the Democrats were getting the message they should work together, or that they should find a way to seamlessly keep government moving, they would have simply put more Democrats in the House and left the Democrats in charge of the Senate. Then you don't have gridlock. So that wasn't the message. The message to the president was, you're taking us in the wrong direction. We've got a lousy economy and we've had it for years. We've got a confused foreign policy and we've had that for years. Frankly, I can't think of much that anybody in the electorate should be thrilled that the administration has done. I think people are thrilled to get rid of Harry Reid and not see him or that steaming pile of Pelosi in front of a camera telling us how we need big government to tell us what kind of health care we can have, who we can hire, who we can fire, and how much we have to pay them. No, the election wasn't about Democrats and Republicans working together. The election was about reducing the size of government. It was about stopping Obama. It was about making the government closer to its constitutional roots. That's what it was really about, and that's the story of the week. This segment of the program is called If They Were Here. My If They Were Here this week is Ralph Nader, and if he was here, I would tell him how much I dislike what he's done to the automobile industry. He wrote a book many years ago called Unsafe at Any Speed, and in it he ripped apart the auto industry, and in particular Chevrolet with their Corvair, a car that most engineers today think was relatively safe for its time. He actually helped create NHTSA, a government program where the federal government tells auto manufacturers what safety equipment they'll put on their cars. This drives up the cost of cars. Now, it's not that I'm against safety. I think the auto manufacturers will do that on their own. Demand. We create it. We'll make them do it. It didn't have anything to do with Ralph Nader when they came up with windshield wipers, disc brakes, or improvements in suspension or radial tires. Automobile industry does that all by itself. But NHTSA creates rules and adds to the cost of cars, and in many cases, it's useless. Back in 1986, they said, put in a high center taillight, and that'll stop rear-end collisions, even though they knew from their own studies that within a year or two, people would get used to it and it wouldn't make any difference at all. But you're still paying for that taillight, even though it doesn't save lives. I really, really dislike that. Another aspect of the whole Ralph Nader persona that I don't like is his socialism. He believes in redistribution of wealth. He thinks we ought to tax the wealthy and punish big corporations. Well, that doesn't help the economy. That takes jobs away from the poor and the middle class. You can't take money away from wealthy people and send it to Washington and expect it to create more wealth. It won't. Money creates wealth when it's left in the hands of the people who earn it, and corporations, they don't pay taxes. They just raise the price of the goods and the services that we buy from them. We pay their taxes. I dislike that about Ralph. I also dislike this nonsense about global warming. He's some great environmentalist from out of the East, but I don't believe we have man-made global warming. I think we have climate change, and we've had it forever. Don't forget the Great Lakes were once formed by glaciers, and it's warm since then, and there wasn't an SUV to be found when it happened. Now, if I were to tell Ralph Nader anything, if I were to sit here with him at all today, I would tell him to go home, relax, and retire. This segment of the program is called The Squirrel of the Week, and this week's squirrel is Lena Dunham. She wrote a book, an autobiography called Not That Kind of Girl. Turns out she is that kind of girl. I think she grew up to be the kind of kid her parents probably told her not to hang around with. The stuff that she wrote about what she did to her sister is so graphic that I probably shouldn't even mention it in this video. But trust me, this would make her a child predator in anybody else's world. The things that she did, and just mildly let me touch on a couple of things. She did the Jocelyn Elders thing in bed while she was sleeping with her sister. She tried to kiss her romantically, her younger sister. There is more to this story, but that's as far as I dare go. Anybody that does what she did to her younger sister would be a child predator. They would arrest her if they could. She's upset because now some conservative website has taken excerpts from her book and printed them on her site. And she looks bad. When you look at what she wrote, when she looked at what she wrote, she thought she looked bad. In fact, she's even canceling personal appearances in Europe because of the excerpts in the book. This girl is ill. She's mentally ill. I think she needs mental help. I think she needs to sit down on a couch with a doctor and see if they can fix her. In the meantime, I wouldn't buy her book. I'll never watch her TV program on cable. And I frankly don't think anybody else ought to either. We ought not reward that kind of behavior.